Sudan as a country, especially in major towns, is filled with a lot of bombardment and smoke uh, all over the air. The biggest question is what is happening in Sudan? Ladies and gentlemen, want to take this opportunity to welcome you to Global Leadership Perspectives. And this is a platform where we look at issues concerning leadership and that relates to leadership, take our time to analyze and even interpret them so that they can come to your comfort in a more palatable manner. South Sudan, Sudan. Sudan is currently facing a serious challenge, and and war has erupted between two forces, and currently quite a number of people are trying to ask for ceasefire. But before I come to that, I want to perhaps try to bring to our attention the background or the history in a nutshell that has made Sudan to be where it is currently. Sudan, for at least a decade or about so, has not had really peace per se, and also the aspect of governance has been a challenge because we've had coup and for quite a number of years the military has really been in charge. And so you remember the president, Omar Bashir, who was once the president of Sudan, and he was very ruthless, a dictator in many people's view. And so what happened one time, especially, there's part of Sudan, which should be Darfur. I think some of this region has quite a number of, or the deposit of gold is quite massive there. And so, what the leadership of Mar by then wanted to do is to ensure that that area is condoned and that they are able to harvest or mine the gold without any interruption. And so, uh, also within the area, uh, they emerged militia groups, which also they were sort of there to protect their interest. And because of that, now by then, the president Omar Bashir, he decided to come up with a group, and by then they were calling themselves Janjaweeds. And Janjaweed was sole responsibility was to go and ensure that they push away people from this area where gold had been discovered, and so that now gold could be mined without any interruptions. But then there were, of course, resistance from the local groups. It was not just a soft landing for these Janjaweeds. Uh, and the later on, this Janjaweeds was then per se upgraded now to the RSF, the Resistant Rapid Forces. And basically, this is something that the government itself initiated or began this kind of group, this kind of paramilitary group, and eventually, of course, it is coming now to bite the government. And so currently, the current president is the one in charge of this para group, RSF, and the regular military the head, the general of the regular military is the president of the country. But having said that, it is very complex and it is very tricky, because one of the suggestions that came, at least to try and bring calmness in the country, there was a proposal to ensure that now the paramilitary people, group, the RSF, will be integrated into the regular military of the country, and so that at least normalcy could be achieved and the governance of the country handed back to the civilians, so I mean to the people, because it is really the military that is in charge currently. And so I think they have been trying to work together somehow, but of course, I think there are a number of issues in between. Um, and I think the issue that has brought to the latest turmoil and violence, or the fights between the regular military and the RSF forces, it is the time frame that they did not properly agree on, because I stand to be corrected, but I'm sure this information is correct. The regular military, they suggested or proposed for a 2 year period for the RSF to be integrated into the regular forces, and the RSF themselves declined or opposed that particular proposal, and instead they said for them they wanted a 10-year period of integration and transition. And so this is what sparked, per se, the current situation. And unfortunately, it has taken that route. It's not a good thing. And so we just hope that the leaders in Sudan and the people of Sudan will be able to really square out things and do what they need to do for the sake of the country. But of course, I think there are also a number of things at play where this thing is concerned. One, as I've always mentioned, there is the silent influence of foreign powers. Where currently, of course, you will see the West are trying to pull their string. China will also try to pull their string, and Russia will also try to pull their string. But I think, like in Sudan, I tend to think the powerful forces that could be at play behind what is happening could be the West and the Russia, because I think where gold mining is concerned, Russia might have had an upper hand in terms of getting this contract. That is through the Russian company, and the prime minister, the foreign minister of affairs minister of Russia, has been on record and even been there and talking about it and trying and saying that already they have a deal where that is concerned. Of course, there's another issue of also putting really heavy military presence in the Red Sea, and that again, it is another point of contention, because the Russia wanted to be given that opportunity, and the West finding that a challenge, something that they're not willing to just allow it to happen like that. And the other issue also, remember the president, the former president Al Bashir is still in the prison, And this RSF force, the paramilitary that emerged, was basically formed by Omar Bashir, and so they would really want to see that they probably want to set their person free, or their leader free. And so perhaps that is one of the motivating, or it is one of the things that, even for all these things to be settled properly, they really need to look into it and see how to address that issue. Um, but also it could be complicated. Africa, it is a bit complicated because of different regions, tribes, and sometimes other people feel not excluded in the government programs and projects development. So some of these things could also be silently having an upper hand. But having said that, I think Sudan really needs to sober up quickly through their leaders. In this case, the two gentlemen, the president in the side of the one leading the army, the regular army, and the vice president leading the RSF paramilitary army, so that if there is ceasefire, and then things will be good. And actually, that is the first thing to do. One is to call for ceasefire. The ceasefire in the sense of ensuring that the conflict at hand, first of all, the two groups come to a point of bringing it to an end, a stop, and embrace probably dialogue, so as to follow up on the agreement they had, and to see the best way they can implement it. Otherwise, if this is not done, then there will be a problem. And in that context, it will be important for them really to seriously look at the issue of integration, as it was one of the things in the package, so that they see the best way and the fastest way to implement it. I think that will really help to solve this predicament. Otherwise, we hope and pray that there can be peace and tranquility in Sudan, so that things could resume back to normalcy. Because such a country as that, and it's affected, of course, the people affected, and also other countries are in the same way affected. So the King bless Sudan, and we pray that there will be a quick solution to this particular challenge.